So listen, I love talking about sleep, and because you know something, when we get a good night's sleep, everything in our lives is so much better, from in on all levels, from our physical health, our mental health, our emotional well-being, and even our relationships, how we relate to each other. You know, if you're tired and you're exhausted, you're just not in the humor talking to someone, and you just don't relate very well to them. So it really has an impact, even like right down to the family. If your spouse, if didn't get a good night's sleep, or your kids or whatever. So it really does massively impact on so many different areas of our lives, on all levels, and every single area of our life. So it really is something not to be overlooked. And today I'm going to talk about the immune system in particular, because the immune system is really, I believe that there's not enough focus around the awareness of strengthening our immune system, keeping our immune system really strong. Because right now, that's really what we need to do to reduce the risk of contracting any bacterial or viral infections, colds or flus or whatever. Even recovery, if you've been through something, an operation or whatever, even recovery, it can really help with all of that. So I'm going to share my screen and tell you everything about why the immune system and sleep is so important for it. So we're going to have a look at a few different areas, so how it affects the immune system, but also stress. And right now there is a lot of stress at the moment in the world, and with stress we know that reduces our immune system. It really reduces the functionality of our immune system, and also sleep. And I believe that with all the stress in the world, and look, we have stress every single day, but it's really how resilient we are to stress. And there's lots that we can put in place to keep us resilient. And stress is not only emotional stress, there's all different kinds of stress, emotional toxins in our environment. So I'll touch on a little bit of that later on. I also want to have a quick look at the gut as well, because that's really correlates with brain health and the immune system as well. And then why you absolutely need more sleep when you're fighting an infection and viruses. And really, I'm going to show you some statistics that's going to blow your mind as to what happens at nighttime when we're sleeping. But really the first thing that I'd like to touch on is the nervous system. Is in terms of hierarchy, we've all these systems in our body. We've the circuitry, the immune system, the nervous system, reproductive system, and they're all very important, but they're all instructed by the nervous system. So this would be the top hierarchy, if you like, of all the systems in our body. And when you are sleep deprived, everything slows down in the signaling. So you can appreciate how it affects every single system in our body. So I just really wanted to make that awareness with it as well, and just have an appreciation for our nervous system. And another fascinating thing as well about the nervous system and the brain, it really in studies, it's really only been discovered in the last number of years. We're really science is really looking at sleep in the last number of years and finding out so much about sleep. But one of the fascinating findings is the brain clears out toxins, harmful toxins in the brain at night while we're sleeping. And we do know that patients with Alzheimer's, dementia, Alzheimer's is the biggest one, and neurodegenerative diseases, these toxins, these buildup of toxins in the brain, they are present in patients of Alzheimer's, and it impacts neurodegenerative diseases, other neurodegenerative diseases as well. So what happens at night when we're in a deep phase of sleep, the tissues literally shrink. And this allows our cerebral spinal fluid, or CSF for short, it allows that to come into the brain and literally wash the brain out, literally clean the brain out at nighttime. So it cleans out all these toxins. And we know for the immune system, and this is actually the brain's immune system. So it's called the glymphatic system, this whole process. And the brain has a separate immune system, if you like, to the body. And that's because the brain is protected by the blood-brain barrier. So this is the brain's own cleaning system, detoxification system. So I think that was just absolutely fascinating when I discovered this. And we do know that this is a study, actually, 2012, and they found that people who complained with daytime sleepiness, they particularly 2 years before they actually contracted the Alzheimer's, it's been shown that this is one of the complaints. And researchers noted that sleep problems were the single strongest predictor of this form of dementia. So that's quite significant. And I have links to all these studies if anybody wants them, by the way, as well. Now, these are stats from England. So obviously I was doing a talk up to Northern Ireland with these slides. So 850,000 people in the UK. In Ireland, I think the website needs to be updated in Ireland, but it said 55,000, but it's been the same number for the last 4 years or so. So I think it's a little bit more than that now. But the numbers are really increasing dramatically. That's the point. And there is a lot that we can do to help improve our health in many different ways. And sleep is just one of them. There are other factors as well. But sleep is, as you can see, sleep is a very big factor as well to keeping our brain healthy. So with all the stresses, all the worries, upsets people are having, this is having an impact on our stress levels. And it's also having an impact on our immune system because it is suppressing our immune system. This is an interesting study. Matthew Walker, he wrote the book, Why We Sleep. And he says that with just 4 or 5 hours of sleep, and this is just in one night, our immune system, our T cells, these are our killer cells, they can be reduced up to 70%. Now, this obviously depends on the integrity of your immune system. So if you have underlying issues, then it can be up to 70%. But for normal healthy people, it can be up to 50% of a reduction with your T killer cells when you only have 4 to 5 hours of sleep. Now, that is really, really significant. And the thing about the T cells is when it comes to viruses, they're very sneaky. They can actually go inside the cells, and this is where they replicate, and they can just get out of control. But the T cells can actually detect these viruses and kill the actual cells where they're inside of. So T cells are really, they have a really good job when it comes to viruses and killing viruses. Another thing that Dr. Michael Bruce, he's the sleep doctor in America, and he says poor sleep is the #1 factor when determining whether somebody would get sick after being exposed to a common cold virus. So I'm sure you've experienced this if you're ever feeling really tired or run down, and it's so much easier to contract some kind of a virus or a common cold. Now, autoimmune diseases as well is on the rise. There's over 100 different types of autoimmune diseases, and autoimmune is basically where our own immune system is attacking our own healthy cells. It can't tell the difference. And it has been shown in studies with people who have repeated lack of sleep, bad sleep and habits with bad sleep and not being able to sleep. These could be insomniacs as well. Insomniacs is actually medical. But it has been shown that there's an increased risk of autoimmune diseases if you've ongoing sleep problems. So that's something else to note. Now, melatonin is our sleep hormone. And we absolutely need melatonin. It does reduce as we age, like a lot of other things in our body. But there's a lot that we can do to keep the levels high. But what I want to say here is melatonin is not just a sleep hormone, it's an antioxidant. It helps with all this detoxification process, and we absolutely need to detox our body, getting rid of all those bad toxins in our body, which help with aging. So we want to age gracefully, and people age very quickly when their cells are not being cleaned out or not been there's not enough ample antioxidants. Now, there's other factors as well. Another factor with aging is telomeres, these telomeres that we have on the end of our chromosomes. So that's something else as well. But there's a couple of different factors when it comes to aging. And melatonin is really, I just want to highlight that here, because melatonin is not just a sleep hormone. It is a powerful antioxidant. So where do we get melatonin? Well, we can get it in foods. We can eat foods like tart cherries, or that's a juice. We can drink that juice, tart cherry juice. You can get that in your health shop. Also foods like walnuts as well, pistachio nuts, they all contain melatonin. And then you can get some foods that contain serotonin. Now, serotonin is a precursor to melatonin. So fruits like kiwi and bananas, so you can have that as well. Now, however, I believe that you will get your best melatonin from sunshine. We don't get enough sunshine. There's so many people working indoors with all the lockdown and what have you. People aren't going out as much. And even like my local place I like to go to is the Japanese Gardens and the National Stud Farm. I love going there. And it's literally only after opening up in the last couple of weeks. So, you know, even places like that have been closed down. So people are like, I have been doing the same walk, the same lap around my estate. And, you know, thank God I live in the countryside, but, you know, it can get a bit much. So people have not been really getting out as much. And, you know, sunshine is probably the biggest thing that you can do to go outside and get your vitamin D3, which is another important factor for our immune system. And vitamin D3 is also known to, there's receptors in the brain, in the sleep centers in the brain that use D3. So we need D3 in relation to sleep as well, believe it or not. And D3 is part of our immune system. It does so many different things. But melatonin we can get from sunshine as well. So that's really important. So just going to tell you quickly about the stages of sleep, just so you have an appreciation for how sleep works. So we have these sleep cycles, and each sleep cycle lasts for about 90 minutes, typically about 90 minutes. Now, everyone's an individual, so it might vary slightly. So stage 1 and 2 is really a light sleep. This is where everything's slowing down, the body temperature is reducing, our blood pressure is reducing, our heart rate is reducing, all of this. And in stage 2, we start to lose our senses. And really what that means is we lose our connection to the outside world. So we get all our information through our senses, like our sight, our taste, and all these are switched off. So this part of the brain is switched off in stage 2. And then we go into 3 and 4, and this is the deep sleep. This is where the delta waves are. These are the very slow wave sleep. And it's here where we do all our healing and repairing. It's here where we make our T cells that I was talking about, these T cells, a fundamental part of our immune system. It's where all the healing and repairing is done. It's where the growth hormone is released. Again, this helps we make new cells all the time. Our skin cells, our digestive tract, we make new cells all the time. And this happens here in stages 3 and 4. And then in our REM sleep, this is our dream sleep. So this is where we dream quite an awful lot, and it's really important for our emotional health, our mental health, really, really important. And with all the lockdowns and people been out of work, people have been reporting that they're dreaming a lot more, having more vivid dreams. And the reason for that is because we have most of our REM sleep in the second half of the night. And when people don't have to get up as early as they used to, they're having more of an opportunity to dream, to be in this REM state. And most people were waking up without an alarm clock. So they were waking up naturally. So they were able to finish their REM cycle. So that's why. So that's just an overview. We would typically have maybe 4 to 6 of those sleep cycles. Our deep sleep is more predominantly in the first half of the night. That's why it's really important to get to bed early, because we do most of our detoxifying, especially just after midnight. Our liver is most active. There's a 2-hour window where most of our organs are most active, and our liver is between 1 and 3 o'clock. Look up the Chinese body clock and you can get more information about that and other organs. So now stress cannot be underestimated. And you know, I don't even like using the word stress because we're just hearing it all the time. And people are, I suppose, people aren't really aware of how it's impacting their body. People are stressed and they're not even aware they're stressed. They're coping, you see. They're coping and they've gotten used to this way of life. And we really do need to slow down during the day. We're on the go, go, go. We don't sit down and listen to our bodies. We actually have a natural slowdown between 1 and 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That's a perfect time to have a short nap if you do need to have a nap. But we do need to listen to our body, and for these cycles, all these cycles, the circadian rhythm cycles, every single organ in our body abides by these cycles. Like our liver is most active between 1 and 3 o'clock in the morning, for example. The best time for concentration is early in the morning, and the best time for exercise would be in the late afternoon, because our body temperature is highest, and obviously there'll be less risk of injury when you've got, you know, your muscles are warmed up better and quicker and all of that. So stress can be many things. Stress can be emotional stress, but it can also be toxins in our environment. So food, air, water. And we know we've had countless talks about, the pesticides on our crops and the soil being depleted, the land's not been allowed to rest enough, depleted of soil, bacteria, depleted of magnesium. And so many people, especially when they're stressed, it burns all of our vitamins and minerals, especially magnesium. And 80% of us are deficient in magnesium. And for many people, it could just be getting a supplement or eating your greens that contain magnesium that will help solve your sleep problems and also help you cope better with stress as well. So it is one of the biggest factors when it comes to the immune system because it depletes the immune system. Because here's what happens. So we've got our fight or flight and we've got our rest and digest. These are the two different parts of our immune system. I think many of you may know about these two systems. But the fight or flight, years ago when we were cavemen, we'd run away from the lion or whatever, and then we'd go back to our normal business when the lion went away. But nowadays in our modern world, that type of stress is the exact same response, but it's constant because in our modern world, we've stresses everywhere. The traffic, our angry boss, whatever, there's loads of them everywhere. Our kids annoying us. So there's loads of them everywhere. But the point is, when we're in this state of fight or flight, there's several different, all the systems I spoke about earlier. So our digestive system, for example, it's not important when your body needs to run away from a lion because you're just about to be eaten. So your digestive system is not important. Your reproductive system is not important if you're just about to be eaten by a lion. And your immune system is not important because even if you may have a virus or a cold or whatever, the virus is not going to kill you in the next 10 minutes like the lion can. So that is suppressed as well. So it's really important to understand that with all your systems when it comes to this chronic low-grade type of stress that we're currently living in. And the rest and digest, I like to call it the stay and play. So stay being present in the moment, because when we're in the future and we're in the past, we're just worrying and concerned and anxiety and all of this. So stay and play, I heard that new phrase from someone, I can't remember, but stay being present and play, you know what, we're way too serious. We're way too serious with life and we're pressurized and everything. We're even so critical of ourselves. So play, have a bit of fun, bring some fun into your life. Do something every day that's, get down on the floor and roll around in the grass or whatever with your kids, be a child and have a bit of fun because it does help to relieve some of that stress in our daily lives as well. And that will help with our immune system, believe it or not, too. So environmental influences. So I always say to people, do you know what? It's these sleep problems that we have, it's not necessarily the sleep process itself. It's how we're living our lives. So it's not what we do at nighttime that's going to help us sleep better. Yes, it's part of it, but it's not everything. It's how we're living our lives. So stress, I spoke about that. Our attitude towards stress, how we perceive things, how we're talking to ourselves, the language that we're using, right? It's really, really important that we're mindful that we're aware and we notice these things. And I spoke about the toxins in our environment, food, air, water, all of that. And these can disrupt our natural rhythms. Now, the circadian rhythm is a 24-hour biological process, and it is primarily influenced by daylight and darkness. And all living creatures abide by this rhythm. And it's really, really important. We've evolved with this for thousands and thousands of years. So it's natural for us to be awake during the daytime and to sleep at nighttime. So the primary indicator is daylight. That's why I always tell people get out and get sunshine, especially first thing in the morning, because it will switch off that melatonin, our sleep hormone, and it will get us active during the daytime. So these two hormones, melatonin and cortisol, they work indirectly with each other. Cortisol is not entirely bad. We need cortisol to get us up in the morning time. It's what gives us energy. It's what gives us focus. But like everything else, when we've too much cortisol in our body, this is where it creates inflammation and all sorts of problems in our body. And cortisol is it's a high stress. We may have some adrenaline going with that as well. And so obviously we're not going to be able to relax at nighttime when there's cortisol present in our body. Cortisol is supposed to naturally dip during the day as the day goes on. That's why our focus, our concentration, it's always best to do that type of work first thing in the morning or early in the morning before, say, midday. That's why. But our cortisol is supposed to naturally dip, and then melatonin is at its highest in the evening time for when we're going to bed and keeping us transitioning through those cycles that I spoke about earlier. So melatonin does that for us because we keep cycling through all these different stages of sleep. So they work indirectly with each other. So part of our cycle is our body temperature, our blood pressure, heart rate, all these things, and they have to slow down and the body temperature reduce to allow the onset of sleep. So this rhythm, you can really appreciate this rhythm. I could talk a lot more about these rhythms. So I have the sleep drive there as well. So these are two factors that are involved in letting us have our best sleep. So sleep drive is really the longer that we're awake, the more tired we're going to get. And there is a chemical process that happens in the body. And that is when we wake up, there is a chemical in our brain called adenosine. So when we're active, doing whatever we're doing, this adenosine is a byproduct. It's a byproduct of all our cellular activity. And the more adenosine that builds up in our brain, the more tired that we're going to get. So that's why it's really important not to have naps at like 6 o'clock in the evening, because it will take away some of that sleep pressure. It's also called sleep pressure. And you won't be tired enough to go to sleep. So if you have a build-up of that sleep drive, number one, right? You have a build-up of that, a nice build-up, you find yourself yawning in the evening time or whatever. That's like a sleep gate or a sleep window. It's an indicator that it's a good time to go to bed. So when that is in line with your circadian rhythm, so you're waking up consistently at the same time and going to bed at the same time. So these rhythms, when the two of them are in line with each other, that is your sweet spot for going to bed and being able to fall asleep easily. So it's these two processes that help. So the emotional health, I just touch on that briefly. Really what that is our amygdala, which is our emotional center in the brain. It's amplified by up to 60% when we don't get a good night's sleep. And this could be just after one night of poor sleep. And this is how we are easily triggered, right? You know, if somebody says something to you and you just blow a fuse, more than likely that will happen when you're tired or when you didn't sleep very well the night before. So that is why there is, and it has been shown on MRI scans as well, that this amplification of the amygdala. So the gut, our microbiome is in the gut. Microbiome is really, this is our friendly bacteria, really, really important part of our body. It's a system in itself, actually, its own ecosystem. So good bacteria, bad bacteria. So it's really important that we keep our good bacteria up, that we don't let the bad bacteria overpopulate. And there's lots of people, really high numbers actually, who would have a dysfunctional microbiome or leaky gut or something like that. Dysbiosis, it's called, where it's out of balance. Now, our microbiome is really important when it comes to sleep and the immune system, because the microbiome actually makes vitamins, it absorbs vitamins, it does so many things, but it also talks to our immune system. It tells our immune system what it needs to do in the occurrence of whatever's going on in the body. It actually talks to the immune system, believe it or not. And the microbiome, it does so much more. And when you have a healthy gut, and we know that all disease, they say, begins in the gut. So if you have a healthy gut, because if you have a problem in your gut, it can go systemic. You can have headaches in your head, which is not in the same place as your gut, because it's systemic. It goes into your bloodstream. And there's so many autoimmune diseases that have developed from this as well. People with leaky gut or dysbiosis over a long period of time. So keeping your gut healthy is really, really important. Now, in particular to sleep, most of our serotonin, our feel-good hormone, serotonin is the precursor to melatonin. Melatonin is the sleep hormone. So serotonin and melatonin are made in ample amounts in the gut. So we really have to make sure we have a healthy gut to allow this process. Stress, I mentioned earlier on with the stress, the systems that are shut down when we're under stress, and the digestive system is one of them. So be mindful of that. And then to activate, I love this about the vagus nerve, to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is our stay and play or rest and digest, that part of the nervous system, to activate it, we can tone the vagus nerve or activate the vagus nerve. This is the longest cranial nerve in the body. and it actually goes through all the organs in the body. So it can have an impact on all the organs in the body. So how do we activate the vagus nerve? Well, you can do a bit of singing. So singing always makes us feel good, doesn't it? Singing, gargling, anything to do with the throat, because activating the vocal cords, because it vibrates on the cranial nerves in your neck, and this helps to tone your vagus nerve. Massage is great as well. There's lots humming. Humming is even good because you're vibrating the vocal cords. So really be mindful of your gut and how you're looking after your gut as well, because that's super important. This is essential to your health as well. Your gut really is so important, and keeping that microbiome. And really the diversity of the microbiome. We're not eating a diversity of foods. We all seem to be going for the same types of foods that we're used to eating. So really try different variants of food as well, and eating your vegetables and your fruit and all that obviously too. Now you can get supplements, but most people will say get it in your foods. That's the best source, because it's the way nature intended us to eat it. I touched on the circadian rhythm, the sleep drive. These are all the different parts. It drives our appetite, actually. I didn't say that. It drives our appetite and digestion. And actually food is the secondary indicator, the secondary rhythm controller, if you like, to the circadian rhythm, because back in the day when we were cavemen, we only ate during the daytime when we had daylight. So we've evolved by eating only, and really it's kind of a 6-hour window, because we think about it, when you woke up in the morning in the cave, you didn't have your breakfast ready to hand. You had to go out and hunt it or pick berries or whatever. So maybe a few hours before you've actually, before you can actually eat. So back then we only had a very small window where we ate, and we definitely didn't eat at nighttime. So we've evolved this way. So this is an indicator to our body clocks what time of day it is, which can influence our circadian rhythm. This is just a graph just to show you the best time to do something during the daytime. So highest alertness, 10 o'clock in the morning time. Your highest blood pressure, highest body temperature there around 6 o'clock. 7 o'clock in the afternoon for your cardiovascular. So this is for exercising, because your muscle strength is more optimal, because your body temperature is at a nice temperature. And so on. And we know in the evening time, when we're going to bed, the bowels are suppressed. You never need to get up in the middle of the night, to have a bowel movement. So nature did it this way for us, So it's really that your body is just so intelligent. It really, really is. It's so intelligent. So keeping a daily routine that will help with your circadian rhythm. Keeping a daily routine and getting up at the same time every morning and going to bed at the same time every evening. And really, because your body will get into a routine, and it's all about habits. So this is sleep hygiene. This is part of our sleep hygiene, having a daily routine. And you'll be surprised if you do this, even on the weekends, if you don't have to get up normally, getting up at the same time, even on the weekends. People, if you're a 9-to-5 person in a job, typically you'd like to have a lie-in on a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning, or you may go to the pub. I know pubs are closed now, or you may do something on a Friday evening, after you finish work, and it'd be a late night, and could be an all-nighter or a party or whatever. So this will disrupt your circadian rhythm. I'm not saying never do that, because look, life happens and there are parties and birthday celebrations or whatever, right? But just be mindful if you're doing it every single weekend and your body gets used to this. That's why most people find it very difficult to wake up and be on time for work on a Monday morning, because their circadian rhythm would have shifted. And that's why. So, and actually, twice a year in 70 countries, we have daylight savings. So when the clock goes forward and goes back, and it has been shown, now I'm not sure which way around it is, but in the spring, there's 24% more heart attacks when this happens, and in the fall it's 21% less heart attacks. Now I'm not sure which way around it is, but that's significant. I need to clarify those numbers, but that is pretty significant, heart attacks, and obviously because the heart rate and the blood pressure start to speed up as we're waking up, and that contributes to the heart attack. There's always, I get very simplified that now, but that's why. So my point is the shift in the timing when we're going to bed and waking up, it can have a significant impact on our circadian rhythm daily routines. I love this practicing gratitude, and I think this was it's either Bruce Lipton or Joe Dispenza, but they talk about I know the two of them talk about gratitude, but if you practice gratitude, I do it with my daughter. She's 10 years of age. And I say to her, you know, what was the best thing that happened today? I don't necessarily say the word gratitude, but I'd say, what's the best thing that happened today for you? You know, and we'd reflect on that. And that leaves her in a higher vibration, making it easier for her to go to sleep at nighttime. It's not exciting her now or anything, but it's raising her vibration so that she's not stressed or worried about anything. And it's such a simple thing that you can do. Do it in the morning and do it in the evening time in particular. You can do it during the daytime as well, obviously. And what's been said about it is it will strengthen your immune system by up to 50% if you do 10 minutes of gratitude a day, 3 times a day for 3 days. It can strengthen your immune. Imagine just by being grateful, it can strengthen your immune system. You can do EFT tapping. This is another thing that I like to do as well. There's just loads of things that you can do to help raise your vibration, raise your energy. So that's something I'll let you look that up yourself. You can do EFT tapping for sleep and for stress and all sorts of things. It really helps to release the emotions in your body. So technology, so many people are on their phones. And I have a pet hate about technology because we just seem to, it's like an extension on our arms, and so many people are on their mobile phones. And in the bedroom, this is not unusual. And I've heard people been jealous of their other half because they think they love their phone more than them. I know it sounds hilarious, but it's true. So we have all this going on as well, and we're checking our phones first thing in the morning before we even say good morning to our spouse. But what's really relevant about the mobile phones is the blue light. The blue light blocks our melatonin. And there's also, we spoke about toxins. So the EMF from our mobile phones is a big toxin as well. And it can affect us right down to the cells. It can have, and 5G is coming in now, which is even more dangerous. There's over 10,000 studies done to show that it has adverse effects on our health. So be very mindful of that. If you do need to use your mobile phone for an alarm clock, turn it onto flight mode. It will still work. And if possible, just don't bring your phone into the bedroom at all. And certainly do not reach for your phone in the middle of the night to have a look to see what time it is. Don't go near your mobile phone during the night time. Don't even look at a clock, actually, because you're just doing the mental maths and you're getting stressed and saying, oh, Jane, I've only got 2 hours left to sleep and we're getting stressed. There's the cortisol straight away. All right. So don't have mobile phones and don't look at the clock during the night time. Yeah, there's an interesting statistic. 40% of Irish people look at their phones within 5 minutes awake. And imagine that's massive, absolutely massive. So be mindful of how you're thinking about sleep. Be mindful of what you're saying about sleep, your relationship to sleep. Do you value sleep? You know, if you're saying I don't have time for sleep, then you don't value sleep. And if you don't value it, you're not going to prioritize it. And you're not going to appreciate it. These are things that people say, more important things to do before I go to bed. I'll catch up the weekend. Just know, have you said any of these things? Sleep is for wimps. There you go. So many of us, it's like a stigma. If you're feeling tired and you want to, during the afternoon, if you want to have a nap, you know, people will call you lazy. And really your mind and your health, if you need a nap, right, take a nap, but only up to 30 minutes. And don't take a nap too close to bedtime, okay, because it will eat into that sleep drive. And this is a great quote by Henry Ford, whether you think that you can or you can't, you're right, because whatever you tell your brain is going to believe it. So be careful what you tell your brain. And you know what, success in anything, I talk a lot about sleep success. It's one of my taglines, but sleep success or any kind of success, 80% of it is mindset. It really is. I mean, you can do all the habits and even, you know, when you're doing the habitual things, it goes into that subconscious brain. So you're on automatic pilot then doing all the good hygiene things for sleep, but it's your attitude as well. It's a very, very big part of it. So we're coming near the end. So 5 top tips. These are my top, and there's loads of tips, but these are my top tips. Have a morning routine. I call it my power hour, right? So I don't even put on my phone. My phone is on flight mode, and sometimes I forget to put it back on, take it off flight mode. Could be 12 o'clock, and people are going, I'm trying to get you all morning. So your morning routine, have a power hour. So really set yourself up for the day, energize yourself, okay? Don't be answering emails, because really your you're doing something in response to somebody else, to somebody else's request. Really empower yourself, set yourself up for the day, go out for a morning walk, sit outside, have your cup of tea in the morning sunshine, whatever it is that you want to do. And look, if you don't want to do it for an hour, do it for 5 minutes, just do it, that you're empowering yourself, you're doing something for yourself. So I think it's Hal Elrod, the Morning Miracle, look him up. Super guy, and he really believes in the morning time, your power hour. Creating a wind down routine, because sleep is not an on-off switch. It really isn't. We've, to slow down our brain waves, reduce our body temperature, all these things. And, it can take up to a good hour, and it's a good practice. It's like a ritual. So whatever it is for you that you like to do before bed, it could be reading a book, it could be taking a hot bath, it could be doing some yoga. Don't do strenuous exercises before you go to bed, because that will raise your core body temperature. I know I had somebody who came to me, and they'd do like a 5K very close to bedtime. And the reason they were doing it was to make themselves tired, but they were actually doing the complete opposite when it comes to helping them sleep, because they couldn't sleep because of core body temperature. So the release of the hormones couldn't happen necessary for the onset of sleep. So gentle stretching, yoga, perfect. Anything like that, whatever it is that helps you to relax and slow down, do that. Mobile phones, I would say 2 hours before bedtime, because that blue light, it also has that dopamine effect, and dopamine really excites the brain and it keeps you addicted, right? So I could say a lot more about mobile phones. They drive me mad. They're great, but we don't, they're controlling us. We're not controlling the mobile phones and technology. We need to be in control of them, right? And we really need to be mindful of the effects that they can have over us and our children. Look at our children. Oh my God, look up Simon Sinek. There's a talk that he had about, God, I can't think the title of it, but he talks about this, and he says that, gambling and what was it, alcohol, smoking, they're all over 21 or something, 21 years of age, right? They all have the exact same effects with the dopamine as does a child on a mobile phone or a game or whatever, this dopamine, this addiction, the exact same pathway, the exact same, but yet we don't have any age limit on that, right? So as parents, we need to be responsible and be aware of that. It's ruining our children's brains when they're on them for too long. So just be mindful of that. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking about that, because I go on forever about that. Avoid caffeine and alcohol. Caffeine is a stimulant. It takes a long time for it to break down in your body. We're all individuals, so it's different for everybody how fast it metabolizes in your body. But caffeine is a stimulant. And remember, I spoke about adenosine, that brain chemical in the brain, this part of the sleep drive. So adenosine builds up when we're active, right? It's a cellular byproduct. Caffeine fits into those receptors of the adenosine, so it blocks it. So it blocks that message of that sleep buildup, right? And it gives us a release of adrenaline. So it's a false energy. So can you imagine when it eventually wears off, you're going to have a crash? This is why people need another cup of coffee and another cup of coffee. So just be mindful of that. And really, if you're serious about your sleep or you're having problems, stop drinking caffeine, maybe 2 p.m. Because it can take up to 6 hours for half of that to break down. So alcohol, yes, you might fall into bed and be knocked out with it, but it does fragment your sleep. And it blocks your REM sleep, this dream sleep that I spoke about. So be mindful of that as well. And then wake up every day at the same time. Be consistent, because your body loves routine, and your body will come to expect it without you having to have an alarm clock. Set an alarm clock for going to bed. How about that? Try that one. So there's some tips. There's some details. I think I'm bang on time, more or less. There's a couple of minutes if there's any questions. But I do have my podcast, Empowering Family Health, and there's my contact details. Please reach out. I do a free discovery call if anyone wants to reach out, see how I can help you. And that's it. So Mindy, I'll give it back to you, or if anyone wants any questions answered, it'd be great.
Oh yeah, thank you so much. I do have one question about the blue light. I know, especially over the past year, there's been a lot of advertisements for the blue light lens glasses. But
Yeah,
does the blue light affect skin? Like, does it go through us, or is it just through our eyes?
it's the wavelength. It's the wavelength of it. And it actually, because you see, here's what's happening. The body thing, it goes into the SCN, the suprachiasmatic. It's in the hip, not the hippocampus, the hypothalamus, right? The hypothalamus regulates everything. It's a master body clock, if you like, right? And the blue light mimics daylight because that's what's present in the sunshine. So when you've got your your phone and you've got that blue light, you're confused in your body because your body thinks it's daytime. So it doesn't know whether to switch on the melatonin or not because it still thinks it's daytime and it could be 9 o'clock at night. So so it's the blue light. Red light doesn't affect melatonin so much. It doesn't affect it. So that's why with the blocking glasses, it blocks out that blue tone because that's what it does. It confuses the body.
So that they would actually be helpful.
Say that again. Yeah, the blue.
Yeah,
absolutely. And look, we do need blue lights, so don't wear them during the daytime. You know what? I might wear them. There's different types of glasses, right? We need to be mindful as well the blue light coming from our screens, even during the daytime, because this can have an effect on our eye health, the macular degenerative disease. So we need to be mindful of that blue light because it's man-made, synthetic, artificial light. Now you can get a program called Flux, F.LUX. All the experts talk about it. You can put it on your laptop and it's free to download, Flux. If you've got an Apple phone, I don't have an Apple phone, but it's there's something on there that you can switch on night shift, I think it's called. And for the Android phones, there's something called Twilight. You can also reduce the brightness, but it's still not 100%, you know. It's the tones, it's the blue tone that you need to reduce.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So any other questions from anyone?
Maybe I gave them loads of information. They don't have any questions.
Apologies, Johann. I just had to take a call there. But sure, I've heard your story before, but it's amazing, fantastic information, Johann. Thank you.
It really is. Like, you know, when you have the information, the knowledge, and the power, and then put it into action. But do you know what? When you have good sleep, like it affects everything. Like, you know, I'm doing talks in relation to like menopause, teenagers. Everything, like sleep is related to everything. And when you have a good night of sleep, it's going to have an impact on your life. It's going to have an impact on your family, your community, you know, like on your mental health, your physical health. It's just unbelievable, you know, and it can really help to, if you're fighting an illness, and there's lots of silent diseases going on in lots of people that they're not aware of. You know what, and good sleep can always help counteract that. You'll never even know what's going on, but your body is so intelligent, it's always healing itself. So never underestimate a good night of sleep.
Excellent.
I wanted to ask you something, sorry. Would you recommend the melatonin supplements when someone, for example, is very stressed with something and is doing relaxations and things like that? It would help something like melatonin to relax at night and having
good
more
question.
energy the next. Yeah.
Very good question. And here's my take on melatonin. Melatonin is a hormone. So any supplement, and it's funny, like, because there's no other hormones as such that are available in supplement form, right? But melatonin, in my opinion, I would be doing lab tests, or I'd be getting my levels. If I was taking melatonin, I'd be watching my levels because you can actually take too much melatonin and it can have adverse effects. I wouldn't be taking melatonin if there's anxiety or depression or anything like that, because melatonin just helps with the you know, if you've got anxiety, melatonin is not going to help with stress necessarily. It really turns on the sleep process, and it's a good antioxidant, as I said as well. But CBTI is something that I recommend. I don't teach it. I touch on it, but CBTI, it's cognitive behavior therapy, and the I part is for insomnia. So if people have serious sleep problems and they've tried everything, like I said, 80% is down to the mindset and how we're thinking, our behaviors, our habits. And CBTI can be quite good, especially when there's a lot of stress or anxiety going on as well, because that can have a massive impact on our ability to relax. So we need to get to that place where we can relax to help us fall asleep. A lot of people take melatonin if their circadian rhythms are out. So air hostesses, they tend to take it quite an awful lot. If your sleep rhythms is out, then melatonin is great to help you get back into the rhythm. Hope that answers your question.
Yes, thanks so much. Thanks.
Colin, were you going to say something?
No, I was going to ask one question. I don't know how directly relevant it is. I know at the beginning you were talking about the likes of Alzheimer's and maybe linked. Now, I suppose there's people out there who talk about, only surviving on 3 or 4 hours of sleep because, they're so busy. Take Jeff Bezos, was it Jeff Bezos or is it, Tesla?
Mm-hmm.
Them all, they're talking about that. Or are you talking about some people who, you might consider these stupidly intellectual individuals whose minds just don't switch off?
Yeah.
And, would that potentially then relate to, because, I know I've seen a couple of people there who would have been, at that level, who have then ended up with Alzheimer's or dementia, and it's just seen. So would it be something that their brain is just being so on and not switched off at all? Could it be in that area?
It could be. And look at Margaret Thatcher, right? She was very famous for saying that she only needs 4 hours of sleep, and she was very productive. She felt like sleep was a waste of time, and she could get more done and be more productive when she was awake, right? When she, they were very productive, and it was a waste of time to sleep. So she was very busy and very active. She was never giving her body time to slow down. Like, she was just go, 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 go. And she had Alzheimer's in the end. She got Alzheimer's. Now, it could have been a big part of it. I don't know, but it could have been a very big part of it. The point is, you need to really listen to your body and slow down and, look after your well-being. And a lot of successful entrepreneurs, you'll notice that they have some kind of a healthcare regime in place, something for their mind, their well-being, their mindset. They all seem to practice this, and they read books like Think and Grow Rich and all of the, so a lot of these successful entrepreneurs, they do appreciate and understand the value of really looking after yourself, even though they do a lot of work and what have you. So they're very productive. My point is they're very productive, and it can be more productive with more rest during the daytime. And that's what I do say to people a lot. It's okay to have a rest in the afternoon, and you will find you'll even be more productive. You'll get more done, even though you've had a half an hour of sleep in the afternoon. So that's the way I look at it. But you do, again, it's back to listen to your body rhythms and slowing down. We're never designed to go from 8 o'clock in the morning to 12 o'clock at night without a rest, because we have rhythms in our body that we need to respect. So I hope that answers.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Great.
Well, thank you so much, Joanne.